Now at 5 a.m., this is WKYT This Morning. A man was taken to the hospital early this morning after a crash. How weather may have played a role, and your morning weather forecast as we have rain and storms moving through. That's ahead this morning.
Authorities are warning about a batch of heroin laced with a powerful sedative. It's making its way around the state. We'll have more coming up.
Also, the Powerball jackpot going up again after nobody had last night's winning numbers. How much the jackpot is now? It's ahead on WKYT This Morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. The thunder rolls. I'm Rebecca Smith.
It does, and the rain is coming down. I'm Bill Bryant. This is a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. We're keeping you ahead of the storms that we're anticipating happening throughout the day. Here's meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, and those storms really barreling down on the bluegrass north and westbound at this moment. The strongest storm as we speak is right over Montgomery County, and this is heading off towards, say, Bath County. Good news here is no real severe weather threat in the forecast. It's mainly flash flooding. That's the bad news. And we have the flash flood warning anywhere from Spencer, Shelby counties up towards, say, Frankfort and Franklin County. And then it does include that stamping ground area in Scott County, but that's the only location in Scott County. Nonetheless, it is heavy rain. Driving northbound, we'll get a bit of a break here in about an hour to an hour and a half, and then we get another wave flying on in here. So the heavy rain threat is with us today, guys. We're going to be going over when you can expect this rain to continue to move on in. When it moves out, I'll have that coming up.
All right, so with these storms moving through the area today and plenty of rain expected out there, it's important to take extra precautions as you head out on the roads.
Yeah, you want to be careful. Already this morning, a crash sent a man to the hospital. WKYT's Mark Barber is in Lexington with details on that.
That crash happened when a car heading south on South Broadway crashed into a man in a motorized wheelchair here at Gibson Avenue. That man who was hit was taken to the hospital, but he was not seriously hurt. Police do not know why the crash happened, but they say it was dark and raining, so the driver is not being charged. Now, those same wet conditions are still an issue out in the city right now. Roads are soaked throughout Lexington, and the visibility is not great. The wet roads will certainly slow you down this morning, and as the rain continues to fall, water is really starting to pond along the road. So it may be a good idea to go ahead and start planning a few extra minutes into your morning drive. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Authorities are warning about a batch of heroin laced with a powerful sedative. It's making its way around the state. Michelle Chamberlain is at our alert desk this morning with more.
Yeah, the drug that's being mixed with heroin is used to sedate elephants. It's 100 times as potent as fentanyl, which is already escalating the country's heroin troubles. Authorities say they found carfentanil mixed with or passed off as heroin. The powerful drug is suspected in overdoses in western Florida, Cincinnati, and central Kentucky. In Boyle County, 5 people have died this month from heroin overdoses. Now, during a recent meeting of concerned citizens in the county, a doctor said he suspects heroin there has been cut with carfentanil. In Cincinnati, a coroner warned that the overdose antidote, naloxone, might not be enough to save people overdosing on this carfentanil. Guys, back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you. President Obama is imploring Americans to elect Hillary Clinton to the White House. Speaking to the Democratic National Convention, Obama cast Clinton as a candidate who believes in the optimism that drives the nation's democracy. And he warned against what he called the deeply pessimistic vision of Republican Donald Trump.
She is fit and she is ready to be the next commander-in-chief. The Donald is not really a plans guy. He's not really a facts guy either.
Clinton then made a surprise appearance on stage to greet Obama with a long embrace. Tonight, it will be her turn to take center stage at the National Convention in Philadelphia as she accepts the Democratic nomination for president. Aides say Clinton will lay out a positive vision for the future and detail her proposals to improve the economy, boost the country's security, and unite a divided nation.
A man accused in a string of Lexington robberies is headed to court today. Police arrested Kelly Cox yesterday at a home near Beaumont Middle School. He's charged with 3 counts of robbery. And the last week, police say Cox robbed 2 banks and a gas station. Police say Cox also robbed one of the banks back in 2010 and was out on parole at the time of the latest robberies. Lexington police also arrested Sean Taylor in a separate string of robberies. They say he robbed a bank in April and a different bank last week. He's also accused in an attempt suspected bank robbery. Both robbery suspects will be arraigned this afternoon.
Well, deputies say a car crash, it led to 2 people then being attacked by bees. That happened last night on Patton Spur Road in Laurel County. Police say a car hit a utility pole and that bothered a nearby beehive.
And there's a guy come out screaming and squalling and running around about like a chicken with his head cut off.
Deputies say Noah Elkins and Priscilla Simpson were under the influence as they drove down the road looking for a place to swim. They were taken to the hospital after being attacked by the bees. Deputies say Elkins was cited for DUI and Simpson has been charged with public intoxication.
There were some frightening moments at a Lexington apartment complex. Police say a van hit a child. Happened about 7:30 last night off Regency Road. Police say the child was on a scooter in a parking lot at the time.
The person driving the van went, saw her, slowed down, and was trying to negotiate that slow turn over there, and he didn't know that she had actually kind of ran parallel to the vehicle, and he hit her.
Police say the child was taken to Kentucky Children's Hospital with a head injury and road rash. They do think she will be okay. Police say the driver of the van cooperated with them and they will not be filing any charges.
A Bell County mother says her 5-year-old son was stuck by a needle that he found near their home. Ashley Collins says the boy and her older brother were playing outside on Saturday when they found 2 needles next to a tree. She says the boy was stuck by one of the needles and started bleeding.
If this would have never happened, I would have never thought, I'm going to have to teach my kids, hey, you're going to have to look for a needle on the ground. You can't go outside and play till Mommy goes and checks the area.
Collins says she took her son to the emergency room and doctors told them the boy would need blood tests over the next year to make sure that he didn't contract any diseases from the needle.
The University of Louisville trustees have accepted the resignation of President James Ramsey. After 6 hours of closed-door deliberations yesterday, the board announced Ramsey will receive nearly $700,000 and resign immediately. Ramsey's 14 years as leader at U of L were dogged by scandal. The Powerball jackpot is going up again.
It is up there for sure. Nobody matched the numbers in last night's Powerball drawing, worth about $422 million. Nearly 3 months have passed without a winner of the big prize. The jackpot will now increase to about $478 million, and the next drawing for that will be on Saturday. So the numbers keep going up. Well, today, U.S. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will be visiting Bourbon County. The senator will be in Paris to speak with members of the Paris-Bourbon County Chamber of Commerce. He's expected to address issues that are important to both the Commonwealth and the nation. He will address the chamber at noon today at the parish hall that is there on High Street. And McConnell will also be at WKYT. He'll tape a Kentucky Newsmakers interview with me, and we'll have that for you this weekend. WKYT This Morning is just getting started. Great to have you along on this Thursday.
A group of retirees from New Zealand have become internet sensations. We'll have more on their remake of Taylor Swift. A video of hers coming back.
Also this morning, new data on home sales and a lack of diversity in investments. Those stories ahead in your Money Watch report.
Heavy rain out there this morning for some of us not even seeing rain at this moment, but it's coming in waves. We'll have that forecast coming up next. We got some heavy rain falling across the region, central, north, and now off into the eastern zones as that heaviest rain continues to push east and northeast. So some good rain. I mean, really heavy rain across 75, 25, 62, 68, getting absolutely slammed with that moderate to heavy rain. Strongest thunderstorm at this moment is actually coming out of Montgomery County, moving into Bath. It's over Bath at this moment. The lightning strikes you can see are pretty numerous at this moment. Menifee County still getting in on that heavy rain. That goes for Frenchburg, downtown Frenchburg. Getting swamped in there. 60 and 64. There we go. Here comes some heavy rain headed your direction. Moorhead, the heaviest rain starts in just about 20 minutes to about 45 minutes. Depending on if you get this first batch right here or not, really a lot of heavy rain back behind that heading your direction. So it's going to be a way to go at it this morning. Fleming County still going to be pretty soaked all over Fleming County if you're not already seeing it at the moment. Nicholasville, and then work your way up 27 Nicholasville Road all the way into Lexington. That's soggy right there. Northbound still holding on to that heavy rain, and that has given us a flash flood warning in effect. That goes until 6:45. It's for portions of Spencer, Shelby County, Shelbyville, and Simpsonville included in this. Frankfort and Peeks Mill included as well. And then you work your way over towards Stamping Ground area far western portions of Scott County is included, but Georgetown, Sadieville not included. However, treat all these areas, just if you are in. There weren't any reports. I've checked National Weather Service. This is more of just radar indicated of how much rain has fallen in just the past couple of hours. We get through the day, I'd say noon to about 5 p.m. That's when another heavy batch comes flying on in here. And most of the rain falls this morning into the afternoon hours. Once we hit the evening hours, you can see I put the sunshine back behind that to show you that it's not widespread during the evening. There's only bits and pieces left over. If you're trying to head out to dinner, Lexington Restaurant Week, you can still do that. It's going to be like the past couple of days where it's kind of hit and miss. But for the most part, the heaviest rain is this morning and toward the afternoon hours. There's that plume of moisture. Look at this now showing up in Moorhead through Saturday. 4 inches of rain. Remember, Friday and Saturday is more of your few thunderstorms, kind of hit and miss, like we've been having. Today is your widespread rain. Everybody will get the rain for today. Let's talk about your 7-day forecast. And I say everybody, that's why I put 100% chance of rain today. Then we head off toward the evening. Remember, evening it slowly fades away, so heading out, trying to do some things, you'll be able to do that. Ground's going to be extremely soggy, I can tell you that, so ball fields, there's a no-go at it tonight. Heading off toward Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, not great chances, but the chances are still there. And it does look like these are going to be hit and miss, so some will see them and some will not. Off toward next week, we start to lose those chances of rain, and they'll be right there around 30%. But look at the temperatures. 79 degrees today. Now, that's not because of cold air moving in, obviously. It's because we'll have that rain chance all day long, on and off in waves, guys. And these waves are heavy, too. I mean, we're getting some heavy rain out there right now.
You better believe it.
Traveling in here this morning.
It was pretty rough coming in, yeah.
Yeah.
Find the lines, right?
That's right.
All right, thank you, Micah. 5:14 on WKYT.
I was just wondering if my eyes were bad. Apparently not.
No, I think you're just...
It's an issue for
it was
everyone.
the way it was today.
Well, a group of retirees proving there's no age limit on becoming an internet sensation.
This group of New Zealand retirees went viral for their remake of Taylor Swift's Shake It Off music video. Check it out. Okay.
I'd like to see more.
The spoof is almost a shot-for-shot remake of the video. According to the YouTube post, 50 residents from the community took part. Only instead of Swift's 80s throwback style, we have people in their 80s throwing back their style. The video has received an overwhelmingly positive response online. Few exceptions, of course. Haters gonna hate, though, right?
That's what
As
the song says. You know, I don't think too many people would be hating on this because it's just great,
That's
isn't
pretty
it?
cool, yeah. And,
Looks like they're having a lot of fun, too,
up
and that's what
and
matters.
moving. Up and moving, like we hope you are this morning. Get a little coffee.
Little
It's
help
all
for my
right.
coffee friends.
It's got to do it. And it's good to have you with us Thursday mornings, 28th of July on WKYT this morning.
And when we come back, we have a look at your money.
New data on home sales and a report showing investors may not be diversifying the way they need to. I'm Brooke Silva Braga in New York. Those stories and more coming up in your CBS Money Watch report.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
Good morning. It's a rainy and stormy start for many, and if it's not there yet, it's coming.
Oh, yeah, it's on its way.
Rain is moving across our viewing area this morning. Our time is 5:19. Growth in the real estate market and a lack of diversity in investments.
Computer hard drives could be getting a lot smaller. Brooke Silva Braga has the latest on your money.
The number of Americans signing contracts to buy homes inched up in June, signaling growth in the real estate market. The National Association of Realtors Pending Home Sales Index rose 0.2%, meaning more homes are being sold, even though fewer properties are being put up for sale. Home prices also rose, but at a lower rate than expected. Stocks didn't move much yesterday. The Dow closed the day down 1 point. The Nasdaq was up 29. U.S. investors may be buying American too often when it comes to stocks. A report from Vanguard on home country bias shows that while U.S. companies make up just 50.9% of the world's stock equity, Americans invest 79% of their portfolios in U.S. companies. The bias is even worse in Canada, which makes up just 3% of the world's stock value, but draws more than half of Canadian investment. And computer hard drives could get much, much smaller. Dutch researchers have found a way to store data using chlorine atoms, packing information 500 times more densely than today's best hard drives. The breakthrough brings atomic scale storage closer to reality, but the researchers say it's still a ways off. And that's your Money Watch. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. In New York, I'm Brooke Silva-Braga.
The Federal Reserve isn't raising rates this summer.
That's a different tone than federal officials had in May when they said a rate increase in June or July would be appropriate. Things changed after the U.S. only added 11,000 jobs in May and after Britain voted to leave the European Union. Feds expressed optimism yesterday about the economy's recent progress, but some experts believe there still remains a strong case to be made for the Fed to raise rates. So we'll see where it all goes here.
Yeah.
As one report comes in one way and another may show something different. All right, a lot more news coming up for you Thursday morning on WKYT.
We also have a report on sports coming up.
John Calipari hoping to grab five-star point guard Trae Young. UK is in his final 6 schools. You'll also hear from world record holder Kendra Harrison and the Southeastern Lexington 12 and under Cal Ripken State champs going to the World Series. That's on the way in sports.
Still that heavy rain across the Bluegrass north and now eastbound as we're getting the heaviest thunderstorm at this moment in Bath County, Salt Lake area, Owingsville, Sharpsburg. That's where we're seeing the heaviest rain. Sliding over toward the east-northeast, Fleming County, Flemingsburg, you're going to be next in line. Hillsborough as well, Scottsboro, Moorhead, Lakeview Heights across 60. Those are areas that will get some pretty heavy rain at this moment. Still some moderate rain falling here in Lexington. I just stepped outside and it's pretty good rain still at this moment. High winds, not really much of an issue. However, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in some of these areas that picked up tremendous amounts of rain today can take down a few of those weak trees or maybe even some limbs. Got to keep that in mind. Hail threat is not there. Flooding concern is almost high. Yeah, we're talking about that is our main player in the forecast for today. We're going to be going over that not only today, but overnight and into tomorrow morning. Granted, during that time, the bulk of the rain's long gone. During that time, it's just kind of hit and miss, but the damage is already done. We'll talk all about that in your full forecast and really get into details coming up. First, let's check out sports and see what's going on.
Five-star point guard Trae Young. He's in the class of 2017. He went to Twitter yesterday to announce his final 6 schools in his recruitment. Young is 6'2", ranked 20th nationally, the 3rd-ranked point guard. He says these are his choices. No particular order. Kansas, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, how about you, Tubby, and Washington. Kendra Harrison is back home after setting a world record just a few days ago in the 100-meter hurdles. Harrison came close to setting a world record earlier this year, but she ran poorly at the U.S. Olympic trials and will miss out on Rio, but she knew she could do it.
You know, running 12:24 earlier in the season, that really put in perspective, like, I can break the world record. And just knowing that, I trained really hard. And, you know, of course I wanted to break that at the Olympics, but, you know, I can't complain with breaking at London.
Also working out at the UK yesterday, 2 athletes who are headed to the Olympics. Jasmine Camacho Quinn on the left. The UK freshman will run the 100-meter hurdles for Puerto Rico. And Rondel Cerrillo, who ran at UK, will compete for Trinidad Tobago in the 100 and 200 meters. How about that? The 12 and under Cal Ripken State baseball champs once again come from southeastern Lexington. And now it's on to the World Series in Aberdeen, Maryland. This group of youngsters advanced to the 10 and under national championship game 2 years ago, and they are ready to bring home the big trophy.
In the finals 10-year-old year, we kind of got a little worried, and I think we should just try to play loose and not nervous and anxious.
I like the chemistry on this team, and all the kids are really good and they're really nice, so I'm very excited. This is my first World Series, and like I said, I'm really excited for it.
And we hope you bring it home. Sorry about that, Clayton. We'll get that fixed. That's a look at sports. Have a great day.